On January 20th, 2026, a newly built British main battle tank fired its main gun on British soil for the first time in over 30 years. The Challenger 3 completed its first crewed live-fire trial at a Ministry of Defence training centre, a milestone that sounds routine but carries weight that extends far beyond a test range in England. Because the gun that fired was not the rifled cannon that has defined British tanks for decades, it was a Rheinmetall 120mm L55A1 smoothbore, the same weapon mounted on the Leopard 2A7, the same weapon going into the Leopard 2A8, and the most lethal tank gun NATO currently fields. Britain has abandoned 60 years of rifled gun tradition in a single program decision, and the reason it did so has everything to do with what is happening to Russian armor in Ukraine right now. The Challenger 3 is not a new tank. It is a Challenger 2 rebuilt so extensively that calling it an upgrade understates the transformation. New turret, new gun, new armor, new fire control, new sights, new digital architecture. The whole is improved but retains the Challenger 2's proven structure. The result is a 66-ton platform that combines the survivability legacy of the Challenger family. No Challenger 2 has ever been destroyed by enemy fire in combat, with the lethality and interoperability of the latest NATO-standard systems. 148 will be produced, with initial operating capability expected by 2027 and full delivery by 2030. Now set this machine against the tanks it might actually face on a European battlefield, and the comparison becomes less about specifications and more about what 4 years of war have revealed about the fundamental differences between Western and Russian approaches to armored warfare. Start with the gun, because that is where the Challenger 3's transformation begins, and where the gap with Russian armor is most decisive. The L55A1 smoothbore fires NATO-standard 120mm ammunition, including the DM-53 armor-piercing fin-stabilized discarding sabot round, one of the most advanced kinetic energy penetrators in service anywhere. The DM-53 travels at higher velocity and delivers greater penetration on both flat and angled surfaces than anything the Challenger 2's old rifled L30A1 could achieve. A new kinetic energy round is being developed specifically for the Challenger 3 and Leopard 2 families jointly, meaning the next generation of ammunition will be optimized for this gun from the outset. The gun also fires programmable multi-purpose rounds that can be set to detonate in different modes depending on the target: airburst against infantry, delayed detonation against fortified positions, impact against light vehicles. Russia's T-90M Prorив carries a 125mm 2A46 M5 smoothbore. On paper, the caliber advantage lies with Russia, 5mm more bore diameter. In practice, that advantage is largely irrelevant because gun performance depends on barrel length, pressure, ammunition quality, and fire control, not raw caliber alone. The L55A1 is a longer barrel at 55 calibers compared to the T-90M's 48 calibers, generating higher muzzle velocity. The DM-53 round is manufactured to tolerances and material standards that Russian ammunition cannot match under current sanctions conditions. Reports from Ukraine have documented T-90Ms fitted with explosive reactive armor bricks replaced by construction bricks, a direct consequence of production strain and quality control failures in wartime manufacturing. The gun may be the same specification on paper. The round that comes out of it is not. The T-14 Armata, Russia's theoretical next-generation tank, mounts the AH-2-1 M125mm smoothbore, a genuinely new weapon with claimed performance superior to both the two A46 series and Western 120mm guns. The problem is that the T-14 Armata does not exist in any militarily meaningful sense. Russia has produced somewhere between a dozen and 24 units. None have been confirmed in sustained combat use. The program has been plagued by engine reliability issues, electronics shortfalls, and cost overruns that make the T-14 unproducible at scale under wartime industrial conditions. Putin once boasted that the Armata would replace Russia's entire tank fleet. In 2026, Russia is producing T-90Ms on a 24-hour factory cycle, while the Armata remains a parade ground curiosity. The Challenger 3 does not need to beat the T-14 Armata. It needs to beat the tanks Russia can actually field, and the tank Russia can actually field is the T-90M. Now look at protection. because this is where the Challenger lineage carries a reputation that no Russian tank can match, and where Ukraine has rewritten the rules. The Challenger 3 features an entirely new turret, with modular armor designed to be upgraded as threats evolve. The specific composition is classified, but the contract awarded in January 2024 between the Defense Science and Technology Laboratory and ORBSL confirmed a new advanced modular armor system intended to defeat current and emerging threats. The hull retains upgraded Dorchester composite armor, the material that gave the Challenger 2 its legendary survivability in Iraq, where one tank sustained 70 RPG hits and an anti-tank missile strike in a single engagement and remained operational. No Challenger 2 has ever had its crew killed by enemy fire. The Challenger 3 is also provisioned for the Trophy Hardkill Active Protection System, the same Israeli system being integrated on the Leopard 2A8 and already proven in combat on the Merkava. Trophy's 4 radar arrays detect incoming anti-tank guided missiles and rocket-propelled grenades, track them, and fire a countermeasure that destroys the threat before impact, with a combat interception rate historically exceeding 90%. This is the single most important upgrade for any tank entering service in the post-Ukraine era, because the threat environment has fundamentally changed. The T-90M relies on relict explosive reactive armor, tiles of explosive material bolted to the turret and hull that detonate outward when struck, disrupting an incoming warhead. ERA has been part of Russian tank design since the Cold War. It is effective against some threats, but has critical limitations. It degrades after each hit. The tiles are destroyed when they fire. It provides inconsistent coverage depending on the angle of attack, and it offers minimal protection against top attack munitions. The trajectory used by Javelin missiles, many modern ATGMs, and critically, FPV drones diving onto the turret roof. Ukraine has documented T-90Ms being destroyed by FPV drones, costing a few $100s, striking the turret from above where ERA coverage is thinnest or absent entirely. The T-90M also has no hardkill active protection system in service. Russia developed the Afghanet APS for the T-14 Armata, but has not integrated it onto the T-90M fleet. The Drozd and Arena systems that were supposed to protect Russian armor were never fielded at scale. This means the T-90M faces every drone, every ATGM, and every top attack munition with passive armor and ERA alone. Systems that Ukraine has demonstrated repeatedly are insufficient against the current threat environment. The Challenger 3 with Trophy would engage those same threats with an active intercept capability that the T-90M simply does not possess. Then there is the fatal design flaw that has turned the T-90M into what Ukrainian crews call a steel coffin. Russian tanks, the T-72, the T-80, and the T-90 series, including the T-90M, carry their main gun ammunition in a carousel autoloader located inside the crew compartment, directly beneath the turret. There is no blast-proof partition between the crew and the ammunition. When a penetrating round, an ATGM or a drone-delivered warhead breaches the hull and ignites that ammunition, the result is a catastrophic internal explosion that blows the turret vertically off the hull, sometimes to heights of 70 meters or more. The crew does not survive. Ukrainian soldiers call this the Jack-in-the-Box effect. Russian bloggers call it turning tankers into cosmonauts. It is the single most lethal design vulnerability in the T-90M, and it has been responsible for a disproportionate number of the over 150 T-90Ms confirmed destroyed in Ukraine. Western tanks, the Abrams, the Leopard 2, and the Challenger store their ammunition in a separate compartment with blowout panels designed to vent explosive energy away from the crew if the ammunition is hit. The crew compartment is isolated from the ammunition supply. A hit on the ammunition storage may destroy the vehicle, but it does not automatically kill the crew. This is not a minor design difference. It is a philosophical difference between two approaches to tank design. The Russian approach accepts crew death as the price of a smaller, lighter, cheaper vehicle with an autoloader. The Western approach treats crew survival as a design priority that justifies the weight, cost, and size penalties of a separated ammunition compartment. The Challenger 3 inherits this survivability philosophy. A T-90M crew that takes a penetrating hit has seconds to live. A Challenger 3 crew that takes the same hit has a chance. In a war where both sides are losing armor at industrial rates, the army that keeps its trained crews alive longer maintains its combat effectiveness longer. Crews are harder to replace than tanks. The battlefield is flat, agricultural, crossed by tree lines and villages. Observation distances exceed 3,000 meters in open ground, but collapse to a few hundred meters in built-up areas. The threat environment includes FPV drones operating in persistent swarms, artillery with precision-guided munitions, anti-tank mines, and electronic warfare that degrades GPS and communications. Tanks do not fight alone. They fight as part of combined arms teams integrated with infantry, artillery, drones, and electronic warfare. At range, beyond 2,000 meters, the Challenger 3 holds decisive advantages. The L55A1 smoothbore with DM53 ammunition outperforms the T90M's 2A46M5 in muzzle velocity and penetration at distance. The Challenger 3's digital fire control system, with advanced thermal sights for both commander and gunner, an independent 360-degree panoramic commander sight, and automatic target detection and tracking, gives the crew a faster and more accurate engagement cycle. The commander can acquire a target independently while the gunner engages another, the hunter-killer capability that defines modern Western tank doctrine. The T90M has improved its sights with the Cessna U system, but sanctions-induced component shortages have reportedly degraded the quality and reliability of these systems in production models. First-round hit probability at 2 kilometers, the key metric in tank-on-tank engagements, favors the Challenger 3 by a significant margin. The combination of a longer, higher-pressure gun, superior ammunition, and a fully digital fire control system means that in an open-field engagement, the Challenger 3 is likely to identify, engage, and hit the T90M before the T90M can return effective fire. And when the Challenger 3's round hits, it is hitting a vehicle whose ammunition sits unprotected beneath the turret. In the close fight, urban terrain, villages, tree lines at ranges under 1,000 meters, the advantages compress. Both tanks can penetrate each other at close range, but the Challenger 3's programmable, multi-purpose ammunition gives it flexibility against infantry, fortified positions, and light vehicles that the T90M's ammunition suite cannot match as efficiently. Trophy APS provides a defensive layer against RPGs and ATGMs fired from buildings, alleyways, and concealed positions, exactly the threat environment that has destroyed so many Russian tanks in Ukrainian cities. The T90M has no equivalent. Against the drone threat, the defining feature of the Ukrainian battlefield, the comparison is stark. The Challenger 3 with Trophy has a system designed to detect and intercept incoming munitions, including certain drone-delivered warheads. The T90M has cope cages, improvised metal grills welded to the turret roof by Russian crews in a desperate attempt to detonate drone warheads before they reach the main armor. Ukrainian FPV operators have documented the cope cages being ineffective in most engagements. A factory-integrated active protection system versus a welded metal grate. That is the survivability gap in a single image. And the T-14 Armata? In theory, the Armata was supposed to close this gap. Its unmanned turret removes the crew from the most vulnerable position in the tank. Its Afghanit APS was designed to intercept incoming threats. Its Malachite ERA was supposed to provide next-generation reactive protection. Its 125mm 2A82 gun was claimed to exceed Western ballistic performance, but the T-14 has never been used in sustained combat. Its engine has reliability problems. Its electronics depend on components that sanctions have made difficult to source. Russia has produced fewer units than many tank programs produce in a single quarter. By the time the Challenger 3 enters full service in 2030, the T-14 Armata will still be a developmental program, impressive in concept, absent from the battlefield. The honest assessment: the Challenger 3 is not the most revolutionary tank entering service. The Leopard 2A8, with its Trophy APS and full digital architecture, is a comparable or slightly more advanced platform, and Germany is building nearly 200 of them. The Challenger 3's 148 units is a small fleet for a major NATO member. Britain's armoured force has shrunk so dramatically that questions about quantity are legitimate and urgent, particularly if the United States reduces its European commitment. But on a per-unit basis, the Challenger 3 represents one of the most capable main battle tanks in the world. and against Russia's best fielded armor, the T-90M, it holds advantages in every category that matters. Gun performance at range, fire-controlled precision, passive armor survivability, active protection against missiles and drones, crew survivability after a penetrating hit, digital integration with the wider battle space, and ammunition interoperability with allies. The T-90M is a competent tank, being produced in quantity and destroyed in quantity. The Challenger 3 is a superior tank, being produced in limited numbers for an alliance that cannot afford to lose them. Ukraine has already settled the question of which approach to tank design works better in real combat. The carousel autoloader kills crews. Cope cages do not stop drones. ERA without active protection is not enough. The T-90M is being pulled from frontline service because its losses exceed what even a 24-hour factory cycle can replace. And because Russia is running out of trained crews, willing to climb into a machine whose design treats their lives as expendable. The Challenger 3 was designed in a country that has watched every one of those lessons unfold in real time. Its gun fires rounds the T-90M's armor cannot stop. Its armor provides protection the T-90M's ammunition layout cannot match. Its active protection intercepts threats the T-90M's cope cage cannot deflect. And its crew will walk away from hits that would turn a T-90M into a column of smoke and a turret falling out of the sky. No tank is invulnerable. The Challenger 3 will face drones, mines, artillery, and every other threat that modern battlefields produce. But it faces them with better tools, better protection, and a design philosophy that starts with keeping the crew alive. In a war of attrition, that philosophy is not a luxury. It is the difference between an army that can sustain its armoured capability and one that grinds through tanks and crews until both are gone. The first crude shot fired in January was not just a test, it was a statement. Britain has built a tank for the war that is actually being fought, and the war that is actually being fought is one that Russian armour is losing.